The media is really concerned about their lack of access to the Trump White House, even though they have more access than they've ever had, really, in the history of the media covering a president. But they're really upset that, he's opened up access to other outlets like ours and Daily Wire and Daily Signal and, well, all the dailies, really. That they're really angry at the Trump administration because Trump says mean things about the press. And they constantly say that he's some kind of threat to a free press in America. You know what's a real threat to the free press in America? When the press in America ignore significant, important, worldwide, impactful stories. You're pretty plugged in on the news. How much coverage did you see in the last 18 hours of President Trump's speech in Saudi Arabia addressing the Arab nations? Not much. You probably heard quite a bit about a big 747 from Qatar. And you probably heard a whole lot about Jake Tapper's book. But what about this speech that Donald Trump delivered? Because it could very well be one of the most important foreign policy speeches in the last several decades, delivered by a president who is reshaping America's stance in the planet and in the Middle East. It really offers an insight into how Trump sees America's role on the planet and how he believes, rightly or wrongly, long-time bloody conflicts can be resolved. Not through nation building, not through demanding democracy from cultures who aren't really ready for it and don't really understand it. No, he believes the real freedom ultimately comes from the one thing we all have in common. We all want to make a buck. At least it seems that's how Donald Trump approaches it. Take a look at what he had to say yesterday.
Transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
That, of course, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. So that's something, right? And again, I don't mean to just reduce it down to that simplistic term, but I think that it is an accurate read here. He said, listen, and again, understand, this is from Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump, the entrepreneur, the businessman, the billionaire, the real estate developer, the entertainment figure. He goes to Saudi Arabia, he goes to, Abu Dhabi, he goes to the Middle East, and he sees what's working. He sees success, he sees prosperity, he sees gleaming towers and buildings. This is Donald Trump's perspective on what works, right? And he says, "Listen, you guys want to fix the problems you've got here. Focus on developing. Focus on actually making money, commerce, free trade, free markets, and eventually you'll have these great cities. You'll have this great prosperity, and you'll be too busy living a happy, prosperous, wealthy life to kill each other." It may be simplistic, it may be naive, it may be dead on right. It's certainly, as he just put it, a stark contrast to what failed in the Middle East. He says these guys for decades tried to build up Kabul and look at the failure. Whereas you guys have been able to build these cities on your own, not with foreign interventionists, not with nation building. You've built your own nation, not because the West told you how to do it and what hoops you had to jump through to do it. You did it. You built that. And we want to be a partner with that, is his argument. Now, I think sadly, there are way too many leaders in that region who don't care about that stuff. They'd be happy living in a mud hut if they can murder the people they believe are their mortal enemies. And that needs to be in the mix here, the reality of some of the cultures that we're dealing with. But at the same time, this is Donald Trump entering a new phase of international relations in a very complicated part of the world with a very new approach. We're not going to tell you how to nation build. We're not going to tell you how to choose your leaders. We're not going to force democracy on you. It works for us, but maybe it doesn't work for you. But we're going to be here to support your peaceful intentions as long as they remain peaceful. So let's get a little bit more from this speech, because, again, I know you didn't get it elsewhere, and it's pretty important.
In recent years, far too many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. They loved using our very powerful military, and now it's really the most powerful it's ever been. We just are getting a budget approved, $1 trillion, highest budget we've ever had in history for military, $1 trillion. And we're getting the greatest missiles, the greatest weapons. And, I hate to do it, but you have to do it because we believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength. Otherwise, bad things could happen. But hopefully, we'll never have to use any of those weapons. Seems to be an awfully big waste of money if you're never going to use them. But hopefully, we'll never have to use them, because the destructive power of some of those weapons are like nobody's seen before. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America, and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what I really want to do.
All right, so I love this clip more than anything, and I want to break it down real fast, because first of all, I love the fact that he goes off prompter and goes off on this tangent as he's talking about peace, and he's talking about how, hey, it's not our job to tell you how you should live your life. It's not our job to sit in judgment of you. You do your thing, and then he goes off script for a minute and says, although we do have the most powerful military on the planet, and I just approved a $1 trillion budget, and we've got missiles that, it would be a shame for us to have to use them. But we can if we have to, because we believe in peace through strength, but we lead with peace, but we've got the strength and no one can match us. And just so you know, as you start working these issues out, if we have to, we can flatten you all and turn your desert into glass. I think one of the greatest little off-script ad libs, just sort of, oh, by the way. But then he finished with this.
Like nobody's seen before. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America, and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what I really want to do.
It's God's job to judge, and my job to defend America and promote stability and peace. Okay. That's good. Again, I'm on board with this approach. I worry about some of the countries in that region who don't really give a crap about any of our values and any of those things. I know this because they've been at war with each other for centuries. A little bit more.
If the responsible nations of this region seize this moment, put aside your differences and focus on the interests that unite you, then all of humanity will soon be amazed at what they will see right here in this geographic center of the world. It really is. It's like a center of the world and the spiritual heart of its greatest faiths.
It's an interesting turn of phrase, the center of the world, because if you look at a map the way we all look at, a two-dimensional map, the Middle East does end up being in the center of the map. Of course, it's not the center of the world per se, but it's a nice turn of phrase and good for his speechwriters for doing that, and also giving a hat tip to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all having their spiritual homes right there in that region. He is calling on, as he put it, what was the word he used? Responsible nations?
If the responsible nations of this region...
The responsible nations. And that's critically important because by pointing out that some of the nations in this region are responsible nations, probably most of them represented right there in that hall, it's also an indication that some of them aren't so responsible. And in a minute, he's going to turn to Iran specifically. But here's a little bit more of this speech.
In recent weeks, following repeated attacks on American ships and freedom of navigation in the Red Sea, the United States military launched more than 1,100 strikes on the Houthis in Yemen. As a result, the Houthis agreed to stop. They said, we don't want this anymore. It's the first time you've heard that from them, too. They're tough. They're fighters. But just days ago, we were asked to cease targeting commercial. They were not going to be targeting commercial ships in any way, shape, or form, anything American. And they were very happy that we stopped. But we had 52 days of thunder and lightning like they've never seen before. This was a swift, ferocious, decisive, and extremely successful use of military force. Not that we wanted to do it, but they were shooting down ships. They were shooting at you. They were shooting at Saudi Arabia. We don't want them shooting at Saudi Arabia, if that's okay. So we hit them hard. We got what we came for, and then we got out.
That's the most important part of that whole thing, which is, listen, you mess with us, you're going to feel it, and we're going to hurt you. We're going to punch back. We're going to wipe out your capabilities until you scream uncle, but then we're going to leave. We're not going to stay. And again, I think that that's welcome to a lot of the people in this region after over 20 years of occupation in Iraq. Then he turned to Iran. And this is critically important because, again, you don't get this in a lot of your news analysis on cable because, well, they're too busy talking about Trump's emolument clause and a Qatar 747 and what have you. The Saudis and the Iranians hate each other. The Saudis, and they're also two different ethnic peoples. I want to say racial peoples, but they're different ethnicities. Iranians are Persians. The Saudi Arabians are Arabs. Most of the countries in that region represent the Arab ethnicity. The Iranians are Persian. There's a lot of bad blood there that goes in not only how they interpret and practice the Islamic faith, but also just in terms of control and ethnic hatred in the region over whatever their plot of sand happens to be. A strong Iran is bad for Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia would sooner make a peace agreement with Israel if it hurts Iran. And the Trump administration is counting on that. A lot of the countries over there don't want Iran to have anything near a nuclear weapon. And in fact, they'd be happy if the entire regime were overthrown in Tehran right now. They're not allowed to say it out loud, but it is exactly what they believe. And that's huge leverage that Trump can use. And, well, you'll hear what he has to say here.
Yet I'm here today not merely to condemn the past chaos of Iran's leaders, but to offer them a new path and a much better path toward a far better and more hopeful future. As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies, but sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right. Enemies get you motivated. In fact, some of the closest friends of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, and now they're our friends and our allies.
Interesting, a little side note there as he sort of wandered off script again. I would jump in and say, in terms of he doesn't want any permanent enemies except Rosie O'Donnell. I think that one's there to stay. And he makes a good point. Some of our greatest allies, our closest allies, England, Canada, Germany, Japan, fought wars against them. We have a good relationship, but he specifically is offering Iran a way out. Here's the thing: Iran won't take the peaceful way. It's just not in them. They don't care. They never have. They're not going to make peace with the great Satan, which is what they've called us for decades. And he is laying the groundwork here for these Middle Eastern nations, these Arab nations who don't like Iran either. If he comes in there saber rattling and saying Iran's got to get in line and they got to do things our way or we're done. No, he's saying, listen, I'm not here to dredge up things in the past. I'm willing, even with Iran, even with these guys, I'm willing to have a deal with them. I'm here to make a deal. You may have been our enemy before, but look, we can be friends with our enemies. We've done it in the past. We can do it again. We're willing, giving you every opportunity. Let's make a deal. And people see that. And my instinct was, oh, well, that's wrong. That's naive. That's stupid. He's got to be, no. He's just laying the predicate so that when things turn sour with Iran, and they will turn very bad with Iran, these countries are going to either join Trump and support the United States against Iran, or more probably, they'll just stay quiet on the sidelines. But he's giving them political cover here. He's giving them political cover to say, listen, so the Saudis and the Yemenis and the Kuwaitis and all these other countries, Jordan, they can say, listen, he tried. He tried it. This is not his fault. He didn't come in here, like we've seen from American presidents with all this screaming rhetoric against Iran. I'd like to think that that's what's going on here, because Trump is a very smart man. And based on everything he said about Iran in the past, he knows how this is going to end up. But he's making sure that he's got allies when things go bad. All right, a little bit more from this speech and we'll wrap things up.
My preference will always be for peace and partnership whenever those outcomes can be achieved. Always. It's always going to be that way. Only a fool would think otherwise.
That's right. And that's, again, this is sort of the pragmatic summation of Trump's view of this region, and I think of international affairs in general, which is like, why are we wasting our time with fighting and yelling and building missiles and rockets? We could all be making money right now. We could all be building stuff and selling stuff and getting wealthy and building beautiful buildings and beautiful resorts and playing golf and enjoying life. Why not do that instead? If you push us, we will push back 10 times as hard, and you will not be happy with the outcome, but you don't have to do that. Let's just set it aside and let's everybody have a prosperous future. That's sort of what he's saying here, and it just might work. My question for you is, why didn't you see much about this speech anywhere else? Is it because the media is just sort of too stupid to spend time on international affairs? Is it because they're too busy trying to find a scandal and scream outrage about Donald Trump? Is it because they fear having their viewers actually see Donald Trump on the international stage look respected, well-liked, and make sense? Or is it because they've invested so much time and energy and emotion and, yes, money into convincing themselves and their viewers that Trump is a Hitlerian fascist, that to see him actually act like a Churchillian diplomat would so counter the narrative that they've already built about him that they would just rather ignore the news than report the news. It's probably all of the above, but that's what you saw transpire over the last 18 hours since he gave this speech. Very few outlets paid it any attention, or maybe they played a clip or two and then they moved on. without giving it the analysis it deserves. It is the most important international speech Donald Trump has made in his political career, and one of the most important speeches by an American president in the Middle East in history. And, well, one of the networks spent some time on it. Actually, two of them did. I saw a lot of discussion on Newsmax. And here's my friend and colleague, Katie Pavlich from Townhall last night on the 5.
President has unfinished business from the first term, which is making sure more countries come into the Abraham Accords. And he talked about this extensively in his speech. As you mentioned, Jesse, exporting technology, not terrorism, commerce, not chaos, people from all religions and creeds building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. So he's bringing peace to the region by bringing business to the region. And you've seen this happening with the negotiations they had with Saudi Arabia. He talked about the UAE, how they're building up. He then contrasted that with Iran, who he explained has destroyed their economy because all they do is export terrorism. And he gave them a choice. So he's trying to bring more countries into this. He also said that he wanted Saudi Arabia to come into the Abraham Accords, which is really code for saying, you need to normalize with Israel so you guys can share technology and we can all get along and fight your real enemies and not be, trying to get inside these wars all the time. So that will help the region. It will help families in that region. It will also help the American people and the entrepreneurial spirit we have to work with other countries around the world to export our technologies and to work together. So I thought it was really interesting. And if he's going to bring people into the fold through commerce and discussion, while also allowing them to have their own cultures and do their own thing, then I think that would be good for the country and for the president.
And for the world. I'll finish that clip for her. Yeah, listen, Katie and I have a lot in common, not just that we both work at Townhall, but we're also both incredibly attractive people. But one other important thing that we have in common is that we are stalwart, just 100% supporters of our closest ally on the planet, Israel. And I know that Katie cares deeply about the Israeli people and the future of that country. And if she's okay and supportive of this approach that Trump is taking, then I think I'm in the right place on this thing too, because that is the one danger. The one danger is making too good of friends with the enemies of our very good friend Israel is a dangerous proposition. But as of now, it seems like this is the right approach because we can all do business together over there. The Abraham Accords proved that already. Trump proved that with the Abraham Accords by having Arab nations who had never even acknowledged Israel's right to exist agree to normalize their relations. And now, 4 years later, 5 years later, those relationships are strong and prosperous. So good on you, Katie Pavlich. Also, one other clip from, actually, this is from this morning, I think. This is just quintessential Trump, and it's not necessarily directly related to his approach in the Middle East, but it kind of is, because this is Trump at his most natural, finest in these settings. Only he can do this, and I think you'll enjoy it.
And the job you've done is second to none. You look at this, it's so beautiful. As a construction person, I'm seeing perfect marble. This is what they call perfecto. And just a great job you've done. And what a beautiful place. And we appreciate those camels. I haven't seen camels like that in a long time. And with some greeting, we appreciate it.
You got perfect marble here. We call it perfecto. And I love those camels. Haven't seen camels like that in a long time. That's something else. I would only wish he would add to the Emir of Qatar or whatever his title is. Yeah, great stuff. You've done a great job. Stop celebrating Hamas. Stop giving them safe haven. Stop giving Hamas money. Thanks for the 747. I don't think I can take it. But stop with the Hamas. And then we'll be friends, okay? Okay? He may have said that when the cameras were turned off. I hope he did.